The Raid. Forward. Stories have power. They have the power to make us see the world through another's eyes, to feel their struggles, to understand their pain. But most importantly, stories have the power to create change. The Raid is not just a story about one girl. It is a reflection of the experiences of thousands of children who wake up one morning to find their families torn apart by policies beyond their control. Children who are left asking questions that have no easy answers. Right now, in the United States, immigration enforcement continues to separate families. Across the country, people who have lived, worked, and contributed to their communities for years are being detained and deported. Parents are taken while dropping their children off at school. Workers are arrested at job sites. Families live in fear, wondering if today will be the day their world is turned upside down. Becky Hernandez's story is fictional, but the reality she faces is not. This book was written to give a voice to those who have been silenced, to shine a light on a struggle that is too often ignored. It is a story of fear, of loss, but also of resilience. It is about a young girl who refuses to let the world decide her fate, a girl who finds strength in her words, in her actions, in her belief that justice is worth fighting for. As you read Becky's journey from uncertainty to courage, from heartbreak to hope, I ask you to think about the real children going through this every day. What would you do if this were your family? What would you fight for? What kind of world do we want to build for the children who come next? I hope this story inspires you. I hope it moves you. But more than anything, I hope it reminds you that voices, no matter how young, can change the world. Chapter 1, The Morning Hug, Opening Scene. Becky woke up to soft sounds of her baby brother giggling in the next room. The morning sunlight spilled through the curtains, painting warm stripes across her bedspread. She reached under her pillow and pulled out her diary, running her fingers over its worn blue cover. Flipping to a fresh page, she picked up her pen and began to write. Dear Diary, I woke up feeling funny today, like something is going to happen, but I don't know what. Mommy says I worry too much. Maybe she's right, but I just want us to stay happy together. Becky tucked the diary under her pillow again as her mom's voice floated up the stairs. Becky, breakfast is ready. Family breakfast. At the table, her dad was flipping slices of plantains on the stove while her baby brother Nico squished a piece of toast in his tiny fists. Mommy, he's making a mess again, Becky said, giggling. Her mom placed a plate of mango in front of her and kissed the top of her head. Eat up, mi amor. You'll need your energy for school. But Becky wasn't hungry. Do I have to go, Mommy? She asked, her soft voice. Her mom crouched down beside her, brushing a strand of hair from Becky's face. What's wrong, Becky? You love school. Becky shrugged her eyes. fixed on her plate. I don't want to leave you today. Her mom wrapped her arms around her tightly. I'm not going anywhere, menina. Everything will be okay, I promise. Heading to the bus, Becky grabbed her backpack, tucking her diary safely into the front pocket. Her dad waved from the kitchen. Be good today, mi Estrella, he called. Outside, her mom walked to the bus stop. Becky clung to her hand the whole way. I love you, Mommy, she whispered. I love you too, Becky, her mom said, kneeling down to give her one last hug. Now go, show the world how amazing you are. Becky climbed onto the bus, looking back to wave as the doors closed. Her mom stood on the sidewalk, smiling. Becky waved back, pressing her diary close to her chest. Chapter 2. A normal school day. Almost. The bus jolted to a stop in front of Fairlawn Elementary School. Becky stepped off, clutching the straps of her backpack. She could see her best friend Mia waiting by the front doors, waving enthusiastically. Becky, guess what? My mom packed me an extra cookie. Want one? Mia grinned, holding out a small plastic bag. Becky smiled faintly. Thanks, Mia. She took the cookie and slipped it into her pocket, but her thoughts were somewhere else. She couldn't shake the uneasy feeling from this morning. Morning routine in class. The classroom buzzed with activity as Becky took her seat near the window. Her teacher, Miss Garcia, stood at the board, writing the day's agenda in neat, loopy handwriting. Becky reached into her backpack and pulled out her diary. She opened it under her desk and began to write. Dear Diary, I'm at school now, but my stomach feels funny. I keep thinking about Mommy and Daddy. What if something bad happens to them? I don't know why I feel this way, but I hope I'm wrong. She quickly shut the diary when Miss Garcia called the class to attention. Good morning, everyone. Today we're going to start with a writing exercise. I want you to think about a happy memory with your family and write a short paragraph about it. Becky's heart sank. Family. She picked up her pencil and stared at the blank page. Becky's happy memory. After a moment, she began to write. One time my family went to the park. Nico kept trying to chase the pigeons, and Poppy had to pick him up so he wouldn't fall. Mommy laughed so hard that she almost dropped the picnic basket. I remember thinking, I wish we could stay like this forever. It was the best day ever. As she wrote, Becky felt a little lighter for a few minutes. She let herself get lost in the memory, her pencil moving quickly across the page. When Miss Garcia walked by, she smiled at Becky's work. That's lovely, Becky. You have such a way with words. Becky smiled back, but her chest still felt tight. Lunch break with Mia. At lunch, Becky and Mia sat under the big tree near the playground. Mia chattered about the math test they had coming up, but Becky barely heard her. You're quiet today, Mia said, frowning. Is something wrong? Becky hesitated, then shook her head. No, I'm fine. She didn't want to tell Mia about the strange worry sitting in her chest. Instead, she took out her diary and scribbled a quick note. Dear Diary, I can't stop thinking about Mommy and Daddy. I know I'm being silly, but I just want to go home. I feel like something's about to happen. Becky closed her diary and stuffed it back into her backpack. The bell rang, signaling the end of lunch. She followed Mia back to class, trying to shake off her unease. But deep down, she couldn't help wondering if her morning hug with her mom had been the last for a long, long time. Chapter 3. The knock on the door. The afternoon sunlight streamed through the classroom windows, casting long shadows on the floor. Becky sat at her desk, her pencil moving lazily across her notebook. Miss Garcia had just started a math lesson, but Becky's mind was somewhere else. She glanced at her diary, tucked safely in her backpack. She had an urge to open it again, to let her thoughts spill onto the pages, but before she could, there was a sharp knock at the door. Everyone turned to look. Miss Garcia paused mid-sentence. "Come in," she called. The door creaked open, and the school secretary stepped in. Her usually cheerful face looked serious. She glanced around the room before her eyes landed on Becky. "Becky Hernandez," she said softly, "can you step outside for a moment?" Becky froze. Her heart began to race. Slowly she stood up, her legs feeling like jelly. Mia whispered, "What's going on?" But Becky didn't answer. She followed the secretary into the hallway, clutching her hands tightly together. In the hallway. The hallway felt too quiet, too big. Becky stared at the floor tiles as they walked, her stomach twisting into knots. The secretary stopped outside the principal's office and knelt down to Becky's eye level. "Becky," she began, her voice soft but uncertain, "I have something to tell you." Becky's chest tightened. She couldn't breathe. Is my family okay?" The woman hesitated. "Your mom and dad? They've been taken. There was a raid this morning." Becky blinked, the words not making sense. "Taken? What do you mean? Where did they go?" The secretary placed a hand on Becky's shoulder. "I don't know all the details, sweetie, but I promise we'll figure this out. You're safe here." Safe? How could she be safe if her mom and dad weren't? The tears come. The tears came quickly, spilling down Becky's cheek. "I want my mommy," she whispered, her voice breaking. The secretary pulled her into a hug. "I know, Becky. I know. We've called your aunt. She's coming to pick you and Nico up." "Nico?" Becky's voice cracked again. "What about Nico? He doesn't even know." "He's okay," the secretary reassured her. "He's still at daycare, and your aunt will take him home. You'll all be together soon." But Becky didn't feel reassured. She felt like her whole world had been ripped apart. Back to the classroom. The secretary led Becky back to her classroom, but Becky barely noticed her surroundings. Her head felt heavy, her legs weak. Miss Garcia stepped into the hallway, her face full of concern. The secretary whispered to her, and Miss Garcia's hand flew to her mouth. She crouched down in front of Becky. "Becky," she said gently, "if you want to sit in the reading corner or take some time, that's okay." Becky nodded, unable to speak. She walked slowly to the corner of the room, curling up with her backpack hugged tightly to her chest. She could feel the diary inside, but for once she didn't want to write. She just wanted to wake up and find out this was all a bad dream. The rest of the class continued, but Becky didn't hear anything. She stayed in the reading corner, silent, her tears soaking into her sleeves. She didn't know what would happen next, but one thing was certain: her life would never be the same. Chapter 4. Tia Rose's house. The car ride was silent. Becky sat in the back seat, staring out the window, watching the world pass by in a blur. The familiar streets of Fairlawn felt different now, empty, unfamiliar. She held her diary tight in her lap, but she didn't open it. Tia Rosa kept glancing at her in the rearview mirror, her lips pressed into a thin line. She had picked Becky up from school after what felt like hours of waiting. Becky barely remembered the moment, just the whispering adults, the soft reassurances that felt like lies. "We'll figure this out. You're safe now. Your aunt is on her way. Safe? How could she be safe when her whole family had been ripped apart? Becky's baby brother, Nico, was already in his car seat, fast asleep. He didn't know. He had no idea that their parents were gone. He's so little, Becky thought. Will he even remember them if they don't come back? A lump formed in her throat. She didn't want to think about that. Arriving at Tia Rosa's house. Tia Rosa's apartment smelled like arroz con pollo, but Becky wasn't hungry. She set her backpack down by the door and hugged herself, feeling cold even though the heater was on. Do you want something to eat, mi amor? Tia Rosa asked softly. Becky shook her head. Her aunt sighed, kneeling down to look into her eyes. I know this is scary, Becky, but I promise I won't let anything happen to you or Nico. You're safe here. Safe? That word again. It didn't mean anything anymore. Tia Rosa pulled into her a hug, but Becky didn't move. The diary entry. After dinner, Becky curled up on the couch with her diary. The TV was on, but she wasn't watching. Nico sat on the floor playing with his toy cars, making little engine noises. He was too little to understand that everything had changed. Becky opened up her diary and started writing. Dear diary, I don't know what to do. Mommy and Poppy are gone. Nobody knows when they're coming back. I keep thinking maybe this is a mistake, like they'll walk through the door and everything will be okay again. But what if they don't? Nico doesn't even know. He just plays with his cars like nothing happened. But I feel like a piece of me is missing, like I lost my whole family in one day. Tia Rosa says we're safe here, but I don't feel safe. I feel lost. Becky stopped writing. Her hands were shaking. The call that never came. That night, Becky lay in bed, staring at the ceiling. Tia Rosa had promised they'd try to call her parents, but every number they tried led to nowhere. No updates, no answers. Becky hugged her pillow and whispered into the darkness, Mommy, Poppy, are you out there? But no one answered. Becky knew she wouldn't sleep that night. Somewhere out there, her parents were alone, scared, just like her. She clutched her diary to her chest and closed her eyes. She had to be strong for Nico, for her parents, for herself. Chapter 5, Searching for Answers. Becky woke up feeling heavy, like she hadn't really slept at all. The world outside was waking up, cars honking, birds chirping, but inside everything felt wrong. Her parents weren't here. She sat up in the small bed at Tia Rosa's house, hugging her knees. Nico was still asleep, his tiny chest rising and falling with soft little breaths. Becky wished she could be like him, too young to understand, too young to feel this pain. But she wasn't. She did understand, and she needed to know what was happening. The phone calls. Tia Rosa was already awake, sitting at the kitchen table with her phone pressed to her ear. Becky stood in the doorway listening. Si pero no pueden simplemente desaparecer. Tienen que haber una forma de encontrarlos. Yes, but they can't just disappear. There has to be a way to find them. Becky's stomach twisted as she watched her aunt's face. Tia Rosa was usually calm, always knowing what to do, but now she looked tired, worried. Becky stepped forward. Did you find them? Tia Rosa looked up, startled. She hesitated before shaking her head. Not yet, mi amor, but I'm trying. Becky's heart sank. She pulled out a chair and sat down, gripping the edge of the table. Where do they take people when this happens? She hated the way the words fell on her tongue. Tia Rosa sighed. It depends. Sometimes they're sent to a detention center. Sometimes, she trailed off. Becky didn't need her to finish the sentence. She already knew what her aunt didn't want to say. Sometimes they're sent away for good. The diary entry. After breakfast, Becky went back to her room, pulled out her diary, and started writing. Dear diary, no one knows where Mommy and Poppy are. Tia Rosa is calling places, but no one is telling her anything. How can people just disappear like this? It's not fair. I keep thinking about what Mommy said yesterday. Everything will be okay, but she was wrong. Nico doesn't even ask about them. He just plays with his cars like always. He doesn't understand. He doesn't know that our whole world is falling apart. I wish I was a little like him. I wish I didn't have to understand either. She closed the diary and stared at the page for a long time. Then she made a decision. She couldn't just sit here waiting. If no one was telling them where her parents were, she was going to find out herself. A plan forms. At dinner, Becky barely touched her food. Her mind was spinning. She needed to do something. She looked up at Tia Rosa. Can we go to the hospital where Mommy works? Maybe someone there knows what happened. Tia Rosa hesitated. Becky, I don't know if... Please, Becky begged. I just want to see if someone can tell us anything. Her aunt sighed, but finally nodded. Okay, tomorrow. Tomorrow. That was something. Becky glanced at Nico, who was playing with his spoon. He had no idea that everything had changed. She reached for her diary. Dear diary, tomorrow I'm going to find out where Mommy and Poppy are. I don't care if it's scary. I have to try. Becky lay in bed that night, wide awake. She clutched her diary to her chest. Tomorrow she would start looking for answers, because no one else was going to do it for her. Chapter 6. The search begins. The next morning, Becky woke up before the sun. She lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, listening to the soft hum of the heater. Today was the day. She climbed out of bed carefully, not wanting to wake Nico, and tiptoed to her backpack, pulling out her diary. She flipped to a fresh page and wrote, Dear diary, today I'm going to the hospital to find out what happened to Mommy. Someone there must know where she is. I don't know what I'll say, but I have to try. I have to do something. She closed the diary and hugged it to her chest. The ride to the hospital. Tia Rosa held Becky's hand tightly as they walked out to the car. The morning air was crisp, the sky still streaked with pink and orange. Are you sure you want to come, Mia Moore? Tia Rosa asked gently. Becky nodded. I need to. The drive was quiet. Becky stared out the window, watching people go about their morning routines, walking their dogs, rushing to work, sipping coffee at bus stops. To them, today was just another day. To Becky, it was everything. At the hospital. The moment they stepped into the hospital lobby, Becky's heart pounded. Everything looked the same. Nurses in scrubs, walking briskly, doctors checking charts, the beeping of machines in the distance. Her mother had walked these halls just yesterday. Now she was gone. Tia Rosa led her to the front desk, where a receptionist with short curly hair and kind eyes greeted them. Hola, ¿cómo puedo ayudarles? Hello, how can I help you? Tia Rosa took a deep breath. We're looking for information about a nurse who works here. Worked here? Rosa Hernandez. She was taken yesterday. The receptionist's smile faded. Oh. She glanced around and lowered her voice. I heard about what happened. They came in early, checking IDs. A few workers were taken. I don't know where they are now. Becky's hands balled into fists, but she didn't do anything wrong, she blurted out. The receptionist's face softened. I know, sweetheart. She was a good nurse. A lot of people are upset. She hesitated. You might want to talk to Dr. Patel. He was close with your mom. Maybe he knows something. Tia Rosa nodded. Where can we find him? He's on the 3rd floor. Becky felt a flicker of hope, meeting Dr. Patel. The third floor smelled like disinfectant and coffee. Nurses moved quickly from room to room, tending to patients. Then Becky spotted him, a tall man with salt and pepper hair, reading over a clipboard. Dr. Patel, Tia Rosa called. He looked up, confused at first, but then his expression changed when he saw Becky. His face softened. Becky, I'm so sorry. Becky's throat tightened. Do you know where my mom is? Dr. Patel sighed and knelt in front of her. I wish I did, Mia. They took her so fast. No one here knew what was happening until it was over. Tears burned in Becky's eyes. It's not fair, she whispered. Dr. Patel nodded. You're right, it's not. He reached into his pocket and pulled out something small, a folded up note. Before she was taken, she managed to slip this to one of the nurses. I don't know what it says, but it's from her. Becky's hand trembled as she took the note. The note. She unfolded the crumpled paper carefully. Mia Moore, I don't know what's going to happen. Please take care of Nico. I love you both more than anything. Be strong, Mama. Becky's tears spilled onto the page. She clutched the note to her chest. Her mother was out there somewhere, and Becky wasn't going to stop until she found her. As they left the hospital, Becky felt something she hadn't felt since yesterday, determination. Her mom had written to her. That meant she hadn't given up, and neither would Becky. Mom and Dad were taken away in a raid yesterday. Chapter 7, A Plan to Fight Back. That night, Becky sat at Tia Rosa's kitchen table, staring at the folded note from her mother. She had read it so many times, she practically had it memorized. Mia Moore, I don't know what's going to happen. Please take care of Nico. I love you both more than anything. Be strong. Be strong. Her mother had asked her to be strong, but how? How could she be strong when she didn't even know where her parents were? She glanced at Nico, who was sitting on the floor humming to himself as he lined up his toy cars. He had no idea how much their world had changed. She couldn't sit and wait anymore. She had to do something. The letter. Becky grabbed her diary and flipped to a blank page. She wasn't writing to herself this time. She was writing to someone who could help. She picked up her pencil and began, Dear Mayor of Fairlawn, my name is Becky Hernandez. I am 8 years old. I go to Fairlawn Elementary School. I like to read and write and play soccer, but right now I can't do any of those things because my mom and dad were taken away in a raid yesterday. My mom is a nurse. She helps people. My dad is a carpenter. He builds houses. They work hard and love me and my baby brother, Nico, who is only 3, but now they're gone and no one is telling me where they are or if they will come back. My mom wrote me a note before she was taken. She told me to be strong. I am trying, but I need your help. Please don't let them take my parents away. They belong here with me and Nico. Please help us. Sincerely, Becky Hernandez. She read it over and over again. Her hands were shaking, but she felt something inside her she hadn't felt before. Hope. Tia Rosa's reaction. Becky folded the letter carefully and took it to the living room where Tia Rosa was sitting on the couch with a worried expression. Tia, Becky said softly. Her aunt looked up, tired. Yes, Mia Moore. Becky held out the letter. Can we send this to the mayor? Tia Rosa took the paper and read it. As she did, her eyes filled with tears. She pressed a hand to her mouth. Becky, this is beautiful. Will it help? Becky asked. Tia Rosa took a deep breath. I don't know, Menina, but it's worth trying. She pulled Becky into a tight hug. You are so brave, just like your mama. Becky closed her eyes. Brave. She wasn't sure if she felt brave, but she knew she couldn't stop now. A bigger plan. The next morning, Tia Rosa helped Becky type up the letter on the computer. They printed copies and mailed one to the mayor's office. But Becky wanted to do more. I want other people to know what's happening, she said. What if I read my letter at church or at school? Tia Rosa hesitated. That might be dangerous, Mia Moore. Some people won't like hearing it. But it's true, Becky argued. And what if there are still other kids like me? Maybe they need to hear it too. Tia Rosa looked at her for a long moment. Then finally she nodded. We'll find a way, she said. And for the first time since the raid, Becky felt like she had a little bit of control. She wasn't just waiting anymore. She was fighting. As she wrote in her diary that night, Becky didn't feel as lost as before. Dear Diary, I sent my letter today. I don't know if the mayor will read it. I don't know if it will change anything, but at least I did something. Mommy told me to be strong, so that's what I'm going to do. She closed the diary and hugged it to her chest. Tomorrow she would keep fighting for her parents, for Nico, for every kid who had ever lost someone. Chapter 8, Looking for Answers. Becky had never been inside a police station before. She gripped Tia Rosa's hand tightly as they walked through the glass doors. The place smelled like coffee and something metallic, and the hum of voices filled the air. Officers in dark uniforms moved around, talking into radios, typing on computers. A woman behind the front desk looked up as they approached. Can I help you? She asked. Becky took a deep breath. My name is Becky Hernandez. My parents were taken in a raid 2 days ago. I need to know where they are. The woman's expression softened. Sweetheart, I'm so sorry. She glanced at Tia Rosa. Do you have any case information? Tia Rosa nodded. I've tried calling different places, but no one gives me answers. We just want to know if they're okay. The receptionist sighed and started typing on her computer. Immigration cases go through federal agencies. We don't always get direct information here, but let me see if there are any reports. Becky held her breath. After a few moments, the woman shook her head. There's nothing in our system, but that doesn't mean they're gone. Sometimes people are held in detention centers while their cases are reviewed. Where? Becky asked. The woman hesitated. There's one in Newark, but access is limited. You'd need legal representation. Becky's stomach twisted. More waiting, more rules, more obstacles. She looked up at the woman. What can we do? The receptionist pursed her lips. You can contact immigration lawyers. Some work with families in situations like this. And keep reaching out to officials. The more noise you make, the harder you are to ignore. Becky nodded slowly. Thank you. She wasn't giving up. The library research. That afternoon, Becky and Tia Rosa walked to the library. Becky sat at a computer, typing slowly, searching for anything about raids, deportations, families being taken away. Her eyes widened as she clicked through news articles. Families torn apart by immigration raids, children left behind. What happens when parents are taken? Thousands of cases, few answers. The stories sounded just like hers. Parents taken, kids left behind, people fighting, hoping, waiting. She scribbled notes in her diary, writing down the names of organizations that helped families. Some of them were nearby. Tia Rosa leaned over her shoulder. This could help us, Mia Moore. Maybe we can find someone who knows what to do. Becky nodded, determined. She wasn't just going to wait anymore. She was going to fight. The mayor's response. The next day, an envelope arrived in the mail. Becky's heart pounded as she saw the official seal of Fairlawn on the front. Tia Rosa opened it, her eyes scanning the letter. It's from the mayor's office. Becky's hands trembled as she took the paper and read, "Dear Miss Hernandez, thank you for your letter. I am deeply sorry to hear about what happened to your family. Immigration policies are complicated, but I have contacted local organizations who may be able to assist you. I understand how difficult this must be for you. While I cannot change federal policies, I encourage you to reach out to local advocacy groups who support families in your situation. Enclosed is a list of contacts. Sincerely, Office of the Mayor." Becky's heart sank. The letter was polite, but it wasn't enough. It didn't fix anything. But then she looked at the list of contacts attached: lawyers, activists, organizations that helped families fight back. She swallowed hard. This wasn't the answer she wanted, but just maybe it was the answer she needed. Becky stared at the paper in her hands. She had gone to the police. She had done her research. She had reached out to the mayor, and now she had a list of people who might be able to help. She turned to Tia Rosa. "What do we do now?" Her aunt squeezed her shoulder. "Now, mi amor, we fight." Becky nodded. She was ready. Chapter 9. The first step in the fight. The list from the mayor's office sat on the kitchen table. Becky traced her finger over the names, reading them carefully. "Who should we call first?" she asked. Tia Rosa scanned the list, then pointed to one of the names: Gabriela Rivera, immigration rights advocate. "She works with families like ours," Tia Rosa said. "Let's try her." Becky nodded. She wanted answers. She wanted her parents back. And if this woman could help, they had to try. The phone call. Tia Rosa put the phone on speaker as it rang. Becky held her breath. After a few rings, a voice answered. "Hello, this is Gabriela Rivera." Tia Rosa cleared her throat. "Yes, hi. My name is Rosa Martinez. My niece's parents were taken in an immigration raid 2 days ago. We don't know where they are. We need help." There was a pause. Then Gabriela's voice softened. "I'm so sorry. Can you tell me their names?" Tia Rosa gave the information. Becky leaned closer, gripping the table edge. "I'll check our system," Gabriela said. "Sometimes we can find out where people are being held." Becky's heart pounded. "Can you bring them back?" she blurted. Gabriela sighed. "I wish it were that simple, sweetheart, but I promise I'll do everything I can to help you." Tia Rosa squeezed Becky's hand. "Can we meet with you?" Tia Rosa asked. "Yes," Gabriela said. "Come to my office tomorrow. We'll talk about the next steps." Tia Rosa thanked her and hung up. Becky swallowed the lump in her throat. Tomorrow? Tomorrow they would start fighting for real. The meeting. Gabriela's office was small, but filled with stacks of papers and posters about immigrant rights. A sign on the wall read, "No human is illegal." She was a tall woman with dark curls and kind eyes. She shook Becky's hand like she was an adult. "I read your letter, Becky," Gabriela said. "You are very brave." Becky sat up a little taller. "I just want my parents back." Gabriela nodded. "I know, and we're going to do everything we can. But this process is complicated. Immigration cases can take time. We have to act fast." She pulled out a folder. "The first step is finding exactly where they are. I have contacts at the detention centers. I'll reach out today." Becky clenched her fists. "And then we fight," Gabriela said. "We gather support. We get a lawyer. We make noise." "Like protests?" Becky asked. Gabriela smiled. "Maybe, but first we focus on getting your parents the legal help they need." Becky nodded. She wasn't sure how long this would take, but she wasn't stopping now. The rally. That weekend, Gabriela invited them to a community meeting for families dealing with immigration issues. Becky stood in the back holding Nico's hand. She listened as people told their stories. Mothers who had been separated from their children, fathers who had been detained for months, kids just like her who were waiting for their parents to come home. Then Gabriella took the microphone. "I want to introduce you to someone special," she said. "A young girl who wrote a letter to the mayor demanding action. Becky, would you like to say something?" Becky's eyes widened. "Me?" Tia Rosa squeezed her shoulder. "You don't have to if you don't want to." Becky took a deep breath. She thought about her mother's note. Be strong. She walked to the front of the room and took the microphone. "My name is Becky Hernandez," she said, her voice shaking. "My parents were taken in a raid. I don't know where they are, but I know they don't deserve this. They work hard. They love me and my brother. They belong here." Her throat tightened, but she kept going. "I don't want to be scared anymore. I just want my family back." The room was silent for a moment. Then applause erupted. Becky looked out at the faces in the crowd, people just like her. She wasn't alone. And for the first time since the raid, she believed they could win. As they left the meeting, Gabriella turned to Becky. "You have a powerful voice," she said. "We're going to use it." Becky held her diary close. She didn't know what would happen next, but she was ready to fight. Chapter 10, Finding Them. The next morning, Becky sat at the kitchen table, tapping her fingers nervously against her diary. It had been 3 days since the raid, 3 days of silence, 3 days of waiting, but today they were supposed to get answers. Tia Rosa's phone rang. Becky bolted upright. "Gabriella." Tia Rosa answered quickly, putting the call on speaker. "I found them," Gabriella said. Becky's heart nearly stopped. "They're in the Elizabeth Detention Center." Elizabeth? That was only 30 minutes away. Becky felt relief wash over her, but then it hit her. They were still locked up, still not home. "Can we see them?" Becky asked. Gabriella hesitated. "Not yet. There are visitation rules. We need to get legal representation first." Becky clenched her fists. More waiting, more obstacles. But at least now they knew. Meeting the lawyer. Later that day, Becky and Tia Rosa met Mr. Alvarez, an immigration lawyer in a small office packed with books and paperwork. He had kind eyes and spoke in a calm, steady voice. "I'm so sorry for what you're going through," he said. "Your parents don't have criminal records, and they've lived here for years. That works in our favor." Becky sat on the edge of her seat. "Can you get them out?" Mr. Alvarez sighed. "It's possible, but we need to act fast. First, we'll request a bond hearing. If the judge allows it, they can be released while their case is reviewed." Becky frowned. "What if the judge says no?" "Then we fight harder," he said. He looked at Becky. "I read your letter, Becky. You have a powerful voice. If you're willing, we could use that voice to bring attention to your family's case." Becky blinked. "Like how?" "Media, public support, petitions, protests," Mr. Alvarez explained. "The more attention your case gets, the better chances we have of stopping their deportation." Becky swallowed hard. Talking in front of a group at the meeting was one thing, talking to everyone, but then she thought about her parents, her mother's note, "Be strong." She took a deep breath. "I'll do it." A plan in motion. As they left the lawyer's office, Becky felt something she hadn't felt in days. Hope. They had a plan. They had a lawyer. They had a chance. Tia Rosa squeezed her shoulder. "I'm proud of you, Mia Moore." Becky nodded, holding her diary close. She wasn't just writing in her diary anymore. She was writing her own story. And she was going to make sure it had a happy ending. As they drove home, Becky looked out the window. She imagined her parents sitting in a cold detention center, waiting just like she was. But now she had a way to fight, and she wasn't stopping. Chapter 11, the story spreads. Becky sat at the kitchen table, staring at the laptop screen. A reporter from the Fairlawn Gazette had emailed Gabriella asking if Becky would be willing to share her story. "Do you want to do this, mi amor?" Tia Rosa asked gently. Becky hesitated. Part of her was nervous. She wasn't used to speaking in front of cameras or strangers, but another part of her remembered what Mr. Alvarez said. The more people who know, the better chance we have of bringing them home. She took a deep breath. Yes, the interview. The next day, Becky and Tia Rosa met the reporter, Ms. Lillian Perez, at a small community center. Ms. Perez was warm and kind, asking Becky questions in a soft voice. "When did you last see your parents?" Becky's throat tightened. "The morning of the raid. I was going to school. I hugged my mom and told her I didn't want to say goodbye." Ms. Perez nodded. "And what do you want people to know about your parents?" "That they don't deserve this," Becky said firmly. "My mom is a nurse. My dad builds houses. They work hard. They pay taxes. They love me and my little brother. They belong here." Ms. Perez smiled. "You're very brave, Becky. I promise I'll make sure people hear your story." The petition. That night, Gabriella called. "Becky, people are already talking about your story. I think we should start a petition to demand your parents' release." "What's a petition?" Becky asked. "It's a way to show that a lot of people support you." Gabriella explained, "If enough people sign, we can send it to the judge before the bond hearing." Becky nodded. "Let's do it." Within hours, the petition was online. Bring Rosa and Manuel Hernandez home. Stop the deportation of hard-working parents. Becky stared at the screen. It had already gotten over 200 signatures. Her heart swelled. People cared. The bond hearing is set. A week later, Mr. Alvarez called with big news. "We have a bond hearing," he said. Becky sat up straight. "When?" "Next Tuesday. If the judge agrees, your parents could be released while they fight their case." Becky's heart raced. This was it. This was their chance. As Becky wrote in her diary that night, she felt something she hadn't in a long time. "Dear diary, we have a hearing. We have a petition. We have people who care. I don't know what will happen, but I know one thing. I'm not giving up." She closed the diary and whispered into the darkness. "We're coming for you, Mommy, Papi. Hold on." Chapter 12, the bond hearing. Becky had never been inside a courtroom before. The ceilings were high, and everything smelled like old paper and polished wood. Rows of wooden benches stretched out before her, and at the front of the room sat a judge wearing a black robe and a serious expression. Becky sat beside Tia Rosa, gripping her diary tightly in her lap. Mr. Alvarez was in front of them, speaking in hushed tones with Gabriella. Her heart was pounding. This was it. This was the day they would find out if her parents could come home, waiting for them. A door at the side of the courtroom opened, and two officers led her parents inside. Becky's breath caught. Her mother and father looked different, tired, wearing simple blue detention uniforms, their faces pale, but the moment they saw her, their eyes filled with tears. "Mommy, Papi," Becky cried, but Tia Rosa gently squeezed her hand to keep her from running forward. Her mother pressed a hand to her heart, mouthing, "Me and more." Her father gave her a small nod as to say, "Be strong." Becky's chest ached. They were so close, but still not home. The arguments. Mr. Alvarez stood and spoke first. "Your Honor, Rosa and Manuel Hernandez have lived in the United States for 10 years. They have no criminal record. They pay taxes. They are raising 2 U.S.-born children. The only reason they were detained was due to their undocumented status, but they are not a danger to society. They deserve to fight their case while being home with their children. The judge nodded, listening. Then a government lawyer stood up. Your Honor, while we acknowledge that the Hernandez family has been living here peacefully, immigration law is clear. They are not legal residents, and their removal proceedings are justified under current policies. Becky clenched her fists. It wasn't fair. She wanted to stand up and yell, "They belong here," but she stayed silent, waiting. Becky speaks. Then Mr. Alvarez turned toward Becky. Your Honor, Becky Hernandez has written a statement she would like to read. Becky's eyes widened. She hadn't known she would have to speak. Tia Rosa gave her a gentle nod. Becky swallowed hard and stood clutching her diary as she walked to the front. She took a deep breath, then she began to read. My name is Becky Hernandez. I am 8 years old. My parents were taken from me 2 weeks ago. My mom is a nurse. My dad builds houses. They love me and my little brother Nico. They work hard. They never hurt anyone. They take care of us. I don't understand why they have to be locked up. I just want my family back. Please, Your Honor, please let them come home. She looked up, her eyes filled with tears. The courtroom was silent. The judge's face was unreadable, but her mother was crying. Her father was blinking rapidly, holding back tears. Tia Rosa squeezed her hands tightly. The decision. The judge cleared his throat. This is not an easy case, he said. I understand that this family has strong ties to their community. I've also read the petition that has gathered thousands of signatures. Becky held her breath. I am granting bond. Becky blinked. Did that mean her parents could come home? The judge continued. Mr. and Mrs. Hernandez will be released while their case is processed. However, they must attend all future hearings and check-ins with immigration officials. Becky didn't hear the rest. Her mother let out a sob of relief. Her father closed his eyes, exhaling deeply. They were coming home. Reunion. Becky ran to them the moment they were released into the waiting area. Her mother knelt down and hugged her so tightly that Becky thought she might never let go. My sweet girl, her mother whispered, tears streaming down her face. You were so strong. Her father wrapped his arms around both of them. We're not giving up, he said softly. We still have to fight. Becky nodded. They weren't safe yet, but at least now they would fight together. That night, Becky wrote in her diary, Dear Diary, Mommy and Papi are home. I don't know what will happen next, but I know one thing. I won't stop fighting for my family, ever. She closed the diary, curling up between her parents and Nico on the couch. For the first time in weeks, she finally felt warm, finally felt safe, finally felt home. Chapter 13, A New Beginning. The house felt different now. Becky sat at the kitchen table watching her mother pour coffee and her father help Nico with his breakfast. It had been 3 days since they had come home. 3 days of hugs that lasted forever. 3 days of waking up and not feeling afraid. But the fight wasn't over. Her parents still had a legal case ahead of them. They still had to go to hearings, check-ins, and meetings with their lawyer. Becky knew that, but for now they were together. And that was enough. The community comes together. That Sunday, Becky and her family went to church for the first time since the raid. When they walked inside, everyone turned. For a moment, Becky thought people would just stare. Then the priest smiled, and people started clapping. Her mother gasped. Becky's father put a hand on her shoulder, his eyes wet. One by one, people came up to them, hugging them, saying, "Welcome home." "We signed your petition," one woman said. "We prayed for you," said another. "If you need anything, we're here," said a third. Becky looked up at her parents. They weren't alone. Back to school. Monday morning, Becky climbed onto the school bus, feeling nervous. Would people whisper about what happened? Would they treat her differently? When she walked into her classroom, Mia ran up to her and hugged her. "I missed you," Mia said. "Are you okay?" Becky nodded. "I think so." Miss Garcia smiled from her desk. "Welcome back, Becky." For the first time in weeks, school felt normal again. She opened her diary and wrote, "Dear Diary, I'm back in school, back home, but I'm not the same. I know things now, hard things. I know how fast life can change. I know how scary it is to lose people you love, but I also know something else. I know that my voice matters. I know that even when you're scared, you have to keep fighting. And I know that no matter what happens next, I won't stop." Final scene, looking forward. That evening, Becky sat with her parents on the couch, Nico curled up in her lap. "Will we be okay?" she asked softly. Her mother ran a hand through her hair. "I don't know, Mia Moore, but we'll face it together," her father added. Becky nodded. She didn't have all the answers, but she wasn't afraid anymore because she had her family, and that was everything. Chapter 14, A New Purpose. Becky sat in Mr. Alvarez's office again, but this time, she wasn't just there to listen. She had a notebook open, taking notes. She had questions, and she wanted answers. "Becky," Mr. Alvarez said, smiling at her, "you ask more questions than most law students I know." Becky blushed. I want to understand. I want to help." Her parents smiled at her proudly. Her father squeezed her shoulder. "You already are, Mia Moore, researching the law." That night, Becky sat at the kitchen table with her diary open, but instead of writing about her feelings, she was writing laws. She had searched online for how to become a lawyer and found out she would need to go to college, then law school. That was a long way away, but she didn't care. She had a plan now. "Dear Diary, I used to think lawyers were just people who talked in court, but now I know they do so much more. They fight for families like mine. They don't just follow the law, they try to change it. I want to be one of them." Attending meetings. Becky started going with her parents to their lawyer meetings. She sat quietly at first, listening to Mr. Alvarez explain their case. But after a while, she started asking questions. What happens if they don't win? What other ways can they stay? Can they apply for something to make them legal? Gabriella grinned at her. "I think we have a future attorney in the room." Becky smiled. She liked the sound of that. A school project that matters. At school, Becky's teacher assigned a project. Write about a career you want to pursue. Becky didn't even have to think. She wrote about being an immigration lawyer, how she wanted to help families stay together, how she never wanted another kid to go through what she did. When she presented it to the class, Miss Garcia wiped a tear from her eye. "This is beautiful, Becky," she said. Mia whispered, "I bet you'll be the best lawyer ever." Becky smiled. One day she would be. That night she wrote in her diary, "Dear Diary, I used to feel powerless, like I couldn't do anything, like the world decided things for me. But I don't feel that way anymore. I know what I want to be. I know what I want to do. I'm going to fight for families like mine. I'm going to make a difference. One day I'll stand in a courtroom, just like Mr. Alvarez, and I'll say the words, 'Your Honor, this family belongs here,' and I will make sure they listen." She closed her diary, feeling something she hadn't felt before. Not just hope, purpose. Chapter 15, looking ahead. Years passed. Becky was no longer a scared little girl clutching her diary. She was Becky Hernandez, a high school senior, sitting in the front row of her immigration law class at Fairlawn High School. Her notebook was open, her pen tapping against the pages as she listened to her teacher discuss legal cases just like hers. She had been accepted to Rutgers University, where she planned to study law and political science. Her dream was no longer just words in a diary. It was real. A visit to Mr. Alvarez on a warm afternoon. Becky walked into a familiar office. Mr. Alvarez looked up from his desk and smiled. "There's my future lawyer." Becky grinned, more like almost future lawyer. She sat down across from him. "I just wanted to say thank you. You helped me find my voice, and now I want to do what you do." Mr. Alvarez leaned back, nodding. "You already are, Becky. You already are." Flashback to the diary. That night, Becky pulled out an old, worn book from her bookshelf. Her diary. She flipped through the pages, running her fingers over the words she had written as a child. Then she found the last entry she had written before closing the book for good. "Dear Diary, I used to feel powerless, but not anymore. One day, I'll stand in a courtroom just like Mr. Alvarez, and I'll say the words, 'Your Honor, this family belongs here, and I will make sure they listen.'" Becky smiled. She was getting closer to that moment every day, and when it came, she would be ready. Final scene. The future is hers. As she sat at her desk, preparing for her next assignment, Becky looked out the window. The sun was setting over Fairlawn, painting the sky in warm oranges and pink. She took a deep breath. She was no longer just a girl searching for answers. She was becoming the person who would help others find them. Her journey wasn't over. It was just beginning. Emily Iannelli. I am the author of this piece, and I believe that it is a very powerful writing given the tense situation that we find ourselves in today. It's very sad and tragic, and I watch the news and I see about families being separated and parents and children torn apart, and it just is so unsettling and so sad and tragic. And I felt the only way I could do my part was to write a fictional story, but with the tones of a reality. Unfortunately, it hits hard, and I have tears. And as I reflect on this writing, I pray for all those affected by these sad realities that are taking place in our country. No one thought that this could happen in our country, in the United States, but unfortunately it is happening, and we have to be aware, and we have to fight. We have to be strong like Becky Hernandez. We have to know that we can overcome this, but it's going to take a lot of people joining together. It's just very sad, and I could go into so many stories I see on the news, but I'll let Becky Hernandez's story take that role, and I'm proud that I could write something that could touch others. Thank you.